Hey everybody, this is KennedyHawk from the MCM crew. I've got another deck of the week for everybody, and we're taking a break from the Core Set Hero, gauntlet that I just started because the Nebula pack came out, and I played a ton of Nebula this weekend, and I found a deck that I think is really enjoyable that I wanted to share with everybody, so you could try it out and go out in a blaze of glory, either winning or losing, but having fun either way. The deck is all about Nebula, and it's called the one where Nebula flips only 2 times. So your goal is to go into hero mode only twice. One time to get a couple upgrades and supports down, and then a second time to just blow everything up in true Nebula fashion. So if you haven't opened Nebula yet, or you haven't picked her up at your game store, this is her shtick. She's got 8 technique upgrades in her kit. They cost 1 resource, so 2 true costs, and they all have buffs that they provide to Nebula. Like they might give her Retaliate, they might give her +1 to all her stats, they might give her Overkill, all sorts of things. And they all have a special ability. And how that triggers is when you start your turn in hero form, you have a forced response that says resolve the special ability on each of your techniques, and then discard all of your techniques. So you're going to build up this huge board, and then trigger all their specials, and then discard them. And that's what happens a lot in that game. You're flipping a lot back and forth with Nebula, usually almost every other turn to take advantage of her abilities. Her alter ego is when you play a technique upgrade the first time each turn. You draw 2 cards, so that's really good. It's like double what Carol's ability is. Basically, it pays for the technique itself, so it's really, really strong. And our goal is to take advantage of that, but instead of having to flip back and forth and build up 2 to 3, maybe even 4 techniques at a time and let them all blow up, we're going to get all 8 techniques on the board, flip that second time, do as much damage as we can with us and our allies, and then at the start of our next turn, blow everything up and see what happens, because to hell with it all, right? That sounds like Nebula. So let's get into the deck and talk about the specifics. I'm going to start with supports, because the supports in this deck are really, really important for setting Nebula up. So we've got a copy of Helicarrier. That's in here because all of those techniques cost 1, and we want to be as streamlined as possible, and if we're playing 1 to 2 techniques a turn, at least 1 a turn so that we can draw our 2 with our alter ego ability, Helicarrier is going to make that technique free, which is really important. We've got Nebula Ship, obviously, which is another cost reducer we can use in either form, so that's good. We've got 1 copy of the Triskelion, because we're going to want to get a lot of allies on the board. Our goal is to get 5 wide, and we do that through Nowhere. So Nowhere is a 2-cost unique support. Play only if your identity has the Guardian trait. So you have to flip twice, because Nebula and Alter Ego does not have the Guardian trait, and you're going to want to get Nowhere down. What it does is, just like the Triskelion, it increases your ally limit by 1, but it also has a response. After a player plays a Guardian ally, exhaust Nowhere, that player draws 1 card. That's bonkers. So every Guardian ally we play, or the first Guardian ally each turn, is going to draw us a card. So let's go over to our allies and look at just how many of our allies could draw us a card. So we've got 10 whopping allies in this deck. That might be too high, but you really want to make sure you get allies out for things like strength in numbers and all sorts of stuff. So let's go through this allies. We got Cosmo, who has the Guardian trait, basic 2-cost ally. He's going to draw us a card, because Nowhere. We've got Drax, 3-cost ally, Guardian trait, going to draw us stuff. We got Gamora, our signature ally, 3-cost, obviously Guardian traded. We've got Groot for 3-cost, Guardian traded. We've got Martin X for 3-cost from Mad Titan Shadows. He's 3-traded, or 3-cost, but he's really a 2-cost because he reduces by 1. And we've got Rocket, who's 3-cost and a Guardian. So that's 6 of our allies out of our 10 right now that draw us a card due to Nowhere. But Leadership has a lot of characters that can also draw you cards that aren't Guardians. So I'm talking about Kalu, who's a new Leadership ally from Mad Titan Shadows. He costs 2, 1 attack, 1 thwart, 2 health. After he enters play, search the top 5 cards of your deck for an event. So you can be looking for things like Strength in Numbers. You can be looking for your really, really clutch Nebula events that we'll talk about here in a minute. So he's going to draw us cards pretty frequently. We've got Major Victory, who's a Guardian, 2-cost Leadership ally. When Major Victory is defeated, choose a friendly Guardian character, ready that character. That's going to be really great for us, because it's going to let us use Nebula's stats multiple times, and she is a 2/2/2, so that's not too bad. We've got Maria Hill, obviously a card drawer, and then White Tiger from Mad Titan Shadows is a response. After you play White Tiger from hand, draw X cards, where X is equal to the villain's stage number. If the villain has no stage number, draw 1 card. So you could draw up to 3 cards with White Tiger, which is bonkers good. And all these allies and all these triggers can be done in alter ego form. So there's no reason to flip once you become a Guardian and you get Nowhere down on the board. Now that can be a little bit tricky, right? Because if you don't draw Nowhere in your opening hand and you're playing these allies, you're not getting this buff. Nowhere might be in the bottom of your deck, and we're only including one copy of it, so that can make it a little bit rough. But there is a new card, Honorary Guardian. Play only if your identity has the Guardian trait. So if you get one Honorary Guardian or a Nowhere in your opening hand, so we're including 3 copies of that, so that's 4 cards you're searching for. You can at least make Nebula a Guardian and then chill in Alter Ego form and stay as a Guardian, so whenever Nowhere comes up, you're able to play it. The rest of our events are all Nebula's techniques. So we've got 2 Cutthroat Ambitions, which is the one that the special removes threat. We've got 1 Evasive Maneuver, which puts out Stun or Confuse. We've got 1 Unyielding Persistence, which gives her a tough card. 2 of the Weapon Master that deals 4 damage to an enemy, and 2 Wide Stance that lets us kind of scire the villain deck. Alright, so that's upgrades, supports, and allies. For events, we've got 2 copies of Welcome Aboard. I've never been a big fan of this card, especially because this is another card that you only play if your identity has the Guardian trait. But I think it works in this deck. So it works out to be 5 basic allies, 4 leadership allies, and 1 signature ally. So including power in all of us would work for those basic allies, and including power of leadership would work for the leadership allies, but nothing really works for both of them. And if you draw the wrong power of card with the wrong type of ally, that can be very frustrating. Welcome Aboard does work for all of them, so it's a really, really clutch card. I only included 2 of it, mainly because I was trying to get down to 40 cards in my deck, but I'd really like that to be a 3 of someday if I can figure out what ally to cut or where this goes. We've got 2 copies of Blaze of Glory. That is each Guardian character you get gets +2 thwart, +2 attack this phase. At the end of the phase, deal 1 damage to each Guardian. This is going to be for your game finishing turn. When you flip up that second time, after you've gotten all 8 of your techniques down, you're hopefully going to have Major Victory in play. So you're going to buff him to be a 3/3, and Nebula will be a 5/5 because of her 2/2 stat line, the +2/+2 from Blaze of Glory, and she's got 1 of her techniques that gives her +1/+1. So Nebula's going to be sitting at 5. She can swing for 5. You can swing with Major Victory for 3. You can swing back with Nebula for 5 again because he'll ready her, and that's 13 with just 2 of your characters out. So real, real good. We've got 2 Combat Ready and 3 Lethal Intent, and these are really important cards for this Nebula deck as well. So Combat Ready is a 0-cost event. It's an Alter Ego action, so you're always going to be an Alter Ego to play this, hopefully, because you're sitting in Alter Ego most of the game until you flip. You're going to shuffle 2 technique upgrades from your discard pile back into your deck. So if you're at 7 and you spent 1 as a resource accidentally, you can get it back into your deck. Or really, I just use it for this: discard cards from the top of your deck until you discard a technique upgrade and put it into play, and resolve its special ability. So you can do attacking and thwarting, even an Alter Ego with that, which is really cool. So that's very helpful, but it also just helps you get to those 8 techniques earlier, because your goal is to get 5 allies out and those 8 techniques and then flip. And that is a long time in Alter Ego form. It usually takes me 4 to 5 turns where I'm having to hold the villain's thwart at bay using my allies and using Combat Ready to hopefully trigger thwarting and things like that. Finally, we've got 3 copies of Strength in Numbers, because whenever we're not using an ally to keep thwart at 0, we really don't want to attack the villain. We just want to handle minions and basically use Strength in Numbers to get this combo going and get as many of those upgrades as we can. We do have 3 of our double resources because all of our allies are 2 cost or more. We're really going to want to make sure we can play those allies, even though everything else, for the most part, is 0 to 1 cost. Blaze of Glory also costs 2, so it helps you play that in your final turn. So that's the deck. Like I said, the goal is to get 5 allies out, keep using Strength in Numbers until you get your 8 techniques out, flip up, play Blaze of Glory, and then just go wild with Nebula, triggering a ton of damage and then triggering all her special abilities at the start of your next turn. So you've only got to survive like 1 villain attack at that point. So again, summary of the deck: you're going to flip early, get Nowhere or an Honorary Guardian onto Nebula, flip back down to Alter Ego, let your allies handle thwarting, which is why you have 10 allies. So every turn you're hopefully drawing an ally unless something has gone wrong. You're going to get those 8 techniques out and then just go wild. So I hope people try out this deck. I've had a lot of fun with it and a lot of success, mainly on standard mode. On expert mode, sitting in Alter Ego form, or if you're playing Galaxy's Most Wanted, sitting in Alter Ego form is pretty much not an option. But it's definitely an option and can definitely be super fun against a lot of other villains. So hope you check it out. Try this Nebula 2-time flipper and let me know how it goes. Have a great weekend, and hope you all enjoy the newest release, Nebula.